in a long time. Um, but interesting enough, my channel has views, which I'm excited to state, that allows me to go live and actually state my point of view. So I'm coming to you comfortable, no filter, just to have my intelligent conversation on Ebony Williams' thoughts when she talked about not dating a bus driver or whatever. So I want to say this. First of all, you have to know yourself in order to know what your needs are, what your preferences are, what's compatible to you. And let's not act like your environment and what you've gone through and even misconstrusions that the world has placed within you does not influence that. Now, one of the things that I absolutely hate and I can't stand and that I have seen from celebrity women like a Serena Williams or an Ebony Williams, or, to the everyday woman who's out here working a 9 to 5 or a part-time job, even whatever, is that Black women are criticized for stepping outside their race. Black women are criticized for this masculine trait that everyone tries to put on us. And Black women, people love to try to put Black women in a position to make them uncomfortable so that they can be comfortable and not realize and look in the mirror at their own faults and issues and their own discrimination practices or whatnot. When I heard her say, even in the Breakfast Club this morning, in her explanations, and even when she made a statement that she is not interested in dating a bus driver, I understood that. I understood that for a couple of reasons. One, this lady is an entire millionaire, probably. If not, I'm sure she makes hundreds of thousands of dollars. Who cares about the salary and what she actually makes? I'm not in her purse or pocket. But she's not even in the same circles that people who work the average job. It could be the dang director of marketing to the bus driver to the nanny. She's not in those same circles. So who she meets is going to be different from who you and I meet on a day-to-day basis. Let's first start with that. Her exposure level. And it sounds like she's a humble woman, so she has not forgotten where she came from and speaking about her parents or whatever. But what I don't like is the fact that when it comes to Black women wanting someone who's more compatible, we are criticized for being masculine and whatnot because we have not chosen to do mediocre things. A lot of us have chosen to rise above and beyond, despite discrimination that still exists, by the way, despite holdbacks and setbacks and whatever, to achieve higher education levels, to achieve higher salaries, to achieve fulfillment positions, even if it has nothing to do with monetary value, to get a better understanding of life. And with all that being said, for us to be comfortable in our own skin and know ourselves. What the expectation that has been set, generally speaking, in the Black community and among other people who may view Black women is, oh, well, they're masculine, they wear the pants and da da da. No, what we are is blessed. We have chosen to rise above what she's saying, that mediocrity, in order to continue to and do better. Oh, you're gonna see raindrops because it's drizzling where I am, and I like rain, so I don't mind too much as long as it's not pouring. But I say all that to say that picking yourself up by the bootstraps, working hard, obtaining better, and not settling for less is not being masculine, honey. It's embracing all that God has for you. It's gaining and grabbing at and pushing forward and doing all you can in order to say, okay, let me do better as an individual and as a person. So that way, no matter whether I get married, if I'm single or whatever, I can create this situation for myself and for my legacy whatever that may be, whether it's existing family or whether you may have had a child in a surprising situation where you're married, whether it's out of wedlock or whatever. So I can leave something behind instead of just settling and being complacent for the day-to-day whatevers. I say all that to say Black women have more of a drive, generally speaking, than a lot of our Black men, not all. And we are penalized for wanting better and enjoying better and setting the standards for betterment. And then we're criticized because we don't allow someone to come around us and simply just gain from those efforts, those blessings, that work, that judgment, that pushing through racism, that whatever you may have, and maybe you didn't have too many stumbling blocks, but you were still able to be successful. But somebody stands to only gain versus helping you work towards that. And that's not okay, because you have the ability, just like myself, to say, I'm still going to try to push through and do the best I can with the situation that I've been given. No, we are not all on the same playing field. We can see that from white people who gain more based off of their hereditary wealth that they are given, to maybe their values, to maybe not even being held back in society, to some of the foreign people who come over here and they stand to gain more and they're treated better than Black people. But what you're not going to do is tell Black women what they should settle for, when all they simply desire is to maintain whatever elevation that God has blessed them with and have that desire for compatibility. So that way they're able to enjoy that comfort and that stability and that wisdom, or whatever that need is that they have created, that safe haven for what God has given them, without it being taken away or mooched from or whatever. So if we had more men in our ethnicity, in our culture, who chose us, that wanted more, then there could be more Black women who are married. There are plenty of Black women to this day that I talk to that still desire Black mates. And it's not to say if you go to someone else that you're necessarily going to get compatibility because there's something or another. But in general, a lot of Black men do settle. They have mediocrity tendencies and they try to gain from you and get mad when you're not choosing to allow them to come into this comfortable situation that you have made. And instead, they sit back and they're just like, well, you're too masculine, da da da. Well, what was I supposed to do? Is being feminine, settling and struggling with you because you choose to be complacent and not wanting better? And listen, I'm not off into that lady's relationship. I don't know about her dating a white man. Who cares? That's completely fine. But because whenever Black men date whoever they want to, yeah, it's criticized, but not as much as Black women. I mean, what are we supposed to do? Wait around on, you know, whenever someone decides to rise to the occasion, or settle, or again allow someone to mooch off of us? So what I'm simply saying is, if you're wondering why a lot of Black women are single, they're loving the skin they're in, they embrace, well, for those who know how to, because there's a lot of folks who don't, honey, and can't tell you what they like to do one way or another. That might be why some folks aren't married. But for those of us who know ourselves before we are able to embrace other people, so we can properly embrace other individuals, we're choosing our peace. We're choosing a stable foundation. We're choosing the whole, the solace, so to speak, that's been lied to and said that it's masculine, because we refuse to settle for less, because we've had to settle for less and push through, struggling through the racism, through the constraints that have been placed on us for simply the color of our skin. So the last thing you want is to date somebody that's going to remind you of those constraints. The last thing you want is somebody who's not going to help you push through, who's not going to meet a certain need. Now, that need could be monetary, that you have where you feel like it would be more compatible. It could be time spent. It could be, encouragement. It could be whatever. You know what your needs are. I know I do. and I look forward to those needs being met. But what I'm not going to do is live in a society where I constantly have to put my needs on the back burner, all for the sake of somebody saying, well, it's better to have somebody. It's better to get married. It's better to choose whomever. It's better to choose whatever individual that is not compatible or equally yoked to you and can't help you continue to propel further. Because if I set that expectation on myself to continue to push through despite whatever and continue to look forward to excelling and getting to that next level that God has for me, why do I have to settle for that mediocrity in a partner? Why do I have to settle, basically, in a nutshell, for someone that's going to make me stagnant or hinder my growth? So that's why I can relate to her when she says, I want to date the person who owns the fleet of bus drivers. In other words, this lady is an entrepreneur. She has an entrepreneur mindset. She wants someone who has that same type of drive, that same type of mindset. It may not be from a monetary standpoint, but if your wheels are constantly churning and you're constantly wanting better and you're constantly trying to perfect your craft, or you're constantly pushing through, you're not settling, you're not being complacent. You're not in a position where you're just all in one, just saying, okay, this is it and this is where the buck stops. As long as you're alive and well, you should continue to grow, and you should surround yourself with a mate, even friendships that allow you to grow. And if you cannot get that, because everyone is not blessed to have support systems and compatibility and people pushing them and all this stuff, it is better for you to be on an island with God, so you can continue not to have that you can continue, excuse me, not to have your morals and your drive corrupted, because it says bad company corrupts good morals, right? So if you don't have your morals and your values and your drive corrupted, you're going to maintain that. But when you start to settle, when you start to deal with people of a mediocrity mindset from yours, whatever that may look like for your particular circle and thought process and environment, you're not going to be able to continue to prepare forward, because now you've gotten comfortable, and comfortable leads to complacency. That's all I think she was saying. I think it's stupid that we're having this whole conversation about what this lady views as someone or a type that she wouldn't date. And I just notice every time a Black woman is in the limelight and brings that up, it's always some interesting character that's just like, why you feel this way and you're insulting a whole group of people. No, it's a conversation that needs to be had, because what's happening is y'all aren't afraid to call us the new men and masculinity. But what you're not having is the conversation where we need to talk about the new femininity, which is located in a lot of men who settle, who want to be taken care of, who want to only stand to gain instead of being an asset in a situation, in a relationship, in a friendship. But no, we're so busy calling Black women masculine that we forget those who have now become feminine. How you like them apples? Deuces.